Hello, friends. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gratitude Hour. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who's watching live, and thank you to those who are watching on the replay. You are so welcome here. Let me just fix my focus. Hold on. I don't want it to be on autofocus, so right now, there we go. It's on autofocus right now, so I'll just, there we go. Should be good. This is my fancy little webcam. I bought this a couple of years ago. It's got a lot of cool features on it. It's got the one that I kind of like, but not sure I like, is this one, the Zoom one. It goes a little too zoomy, but you can change like the saturation. That's too saturated. What is this? The brightness, I think. Yeah, I can change the brightness. And then there's contrast as well to make it darker. It's just kind of cool. I think that's the only feature. Yeah, anyway, it's pretty cool. So, hey Heather, how you doing? Thanks for popping by. I was just playing with, you remember this? Da-da, da-da, da-da. I was just goofing around with the webcam. Oh my gosh. How are you doing? How are you doing, Heather? Hey, Hannah. Hi. Thank you for being here. You guys are going to see Puppy Cam today. Oh no, Heather. I'm so sorry, my dear. Wow. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. That's terrible. I'm so sorry, Heather. I'm sending you lots of healing energy and prayers for you and your family. Losing someone. Oh my gosh. Going through those stages of grief, if you already aren't, right? Talking about anger today, which is one of the stages of grief that I went through the longest. I wasn't able to let go of it. So. Oh, are you laughing at the zooming thing? I think I'm getting comments very slow. Last week, my internet kind of pooped out a couple of times. So I'm on my phone's internet right now. So you guys are going to have to tell me if things freeze or, but I think I am slow on the comments. Let me see if I can do something about that. I'm just moisturizing my hand here. Taking off the cast, it left my hand really scaly. Oh, that's true. You guys haven't seen this, right? The last time you saw it was a cast. Now it's just a finger splint. But I don't have those big Andre the Giant hands anymore, like the meat hooks. It's the swelling has gone down a lot. But I saw him a week ago, Monday, or last Monday. Hey, Nick. Hi, Nick. I'm just talking about my Andre the Giant hand. I saw Dr. Fabulous last Monday, and he took the cast off. He pulled the stitches out, which hurt like hell. And then he took the long pin that was the whole length here, and he pulled it halfway out, which I'm telling you, like, I almost fainted. He's like, oh, well, this, you might feel a little pressure. I've said this before. When a doctor says to you, you might feel a pinch, you might feel a little pressure, you might feel a little discomfort, hold on for dear life, because it's going to be the worst pain you've ever felt in your life. And he said, oh my God, I'm going to freeze your finger. I'm like, no, not at this point. I don't want that pain added to it, because my hand was like 3 sizes this big, seriously, and it was all bruised up and everything. So I said, how long is it going to take? And he said, 3 seconds. I took a towel. There was a towel. I bit down on it. I'm like, go. And he did it. And I screamed at the top of my lungs. I'm sure they thought, people out in the waiting room thought that he was killing me. But within a few minutes, the pain was gone. It was nerve pain. That's why it's so painful, you know? So my hand was really scaly. I can't move my, that's as far as I can go. And that's because I've been doing physio for the last week. On Monday, I couldn't even do this. It's amazing how just being in a cast for 3 weeks immobilizes your hand. They told me it's going to take 3 months for these fingers to get back to normal and my thumb. This one is still not sure. Oh my God. So I said hi to Heather. I said hi to Hannah. Said hi to Nick. Nick has some little ducklings that just hatched. Little ducklings. They're so cute. I should show them. Can I show that video, Nick? You tell me if that's okay. I'd have to go onto WhatsApp to share it on here, but let me know if that's okay. Because you guys, those ducklings, oh my God. They're so adorable. Oh my God. Yeah, okay. So let me look for that. It's going to be on WhatsApp. You're going to see it. Nick and I, we talk to each other on WhatsApp. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. Nick's in Ontario, but you guys are both German sisters. Are you in Germany, Hannah? I can't remember if you're still in Germany or if you're somewhere else. You're right there, Nick? Well, thank you. Oh, God. Oh, okay, I'm going back. Hold on, I'm going back on the chat here. Heather says about her sister who passed away, she hurt a lot of people, myself included. She left a lot of pain and destruction in our lives the last year. Yeah. I can relate to you, sister. I can relate. Yes, I'm healing slowly but surely. I can take this off every other day. They showed me how to take it off, how to rewrap it. I still have 3 pins in here and I can see them. And seriously, guys, I'm going to cry if I think about what my finger looks like. Like, you guys don't want to see it. It's just horrifying. It's worse than Frankenstein, honestly. But I want to show you something that touched my heart so much. I was talking to Nick about how terrible I felt about how my finger was going to look from now on. And look what her and her daughters made for me. They knitted and crocheted finger cozies. So I can, when the hooks are out, the pins, I can slip it on my finger and no one will see the scar. All sorts. I have a bunch of them. I got them in the mail last week. They crocheted them and knit them for me. It was like the sweetest thing. Look at all these different colors. Look at this. Her and her daughters knit and crocheted finger cozies that we were jokingly calling finger condoms. But isn't that nice? She knew how awful I felt about it. And oh, Nick, I'm going to start crying. Everyone's so kind. Yeah, Dr. Fab. Yeah, definitely Dr. Fab. He is fabulous. But he hurt me. I need to get back at him. How am I going to do that? Oh, I'll wear something low cut next time. No, I don't want to distract him. Oh, gosh. The waiting room was empty afterwards. Yeah, I was like, oh my God. It was awful. Yeah, Nick, it is a big change already. I sent Nick a picture when I got home that day and it was huge. Like, my hand was huge. I did a comparison shot and it was so swollen. Like, you couldn't see the little wrinkles in the fingers, or you couldn't see the lines in my palm. It was crazy. And it was all yellow and brown because it was all bruised. This finger is still quite bruised, but they're getting better and I'm able to do this. So, and did you notice I took the nails off? This one still has the nail on it, the green long nail, but I got sick of it and I took them off and I cut them. They were really long underneath the nails. If you ever want to grow your nails, put press-on nails on for 37 days. That's how long they lasted. Can you believe it? Oh my God. Oh. Let's see, let's see. Yes, you're in Germany, Hannah. Okay. I can never remember, you know. Yeah, ouch. Yeah, finger cozies. One for every outfit. Oh, that's true. You forgot. You forgot the leopard skin one. I was actually looking for leopard skin yarn, or when you knit it, it looks like leopard skin. And I saw some on Amazon, but I'm not too sure if it really looks like leopard skin. It's got beige and brown in it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, Hannah, thank you. Hannah says you will wear your scars with pride. Yeah, I know. I usually am okay with scars here and there, but like I have one here. Oh, you know what? I'll use the hold on. 3D, not 3D, the zoom thing. See here? It's a little shiny under. I have a scar from the tip of my nose to my lip here. I don't know if you can see it. It's because I had skin cancer. It was a basal cell carcinoma, so it was non-malignant, and I had to get it biopsied and removed. And I remember I went to see this, what are they called? Dermatologist. There you go. Well, that word escaped me. He must have been over 80 years old when I saw him, and he was shaking. His hands were shaking as he was coming near me with the scalpel, and I was looking at him terrified. I don't have a good thing with doctors, apparently, but he said there will be a scar. It is what it is, and it was much worse. You can kind of see it when I go like that, the white thing. It was much worse when it first happened, and I hated it because it was on my face, but then I got used to it. But the thing with my fingers is that you guys know how many YouTube channels I have, right? Especially like when I do the baking and the painting and the drawing, my hand is like a close up. And to be honest with you, I don't want it to look like that for my videos. If it's just walking around or going to town, I don't care. But when it comes to like my business, when I'm trying to make a nice video, I don't know how appealing it would look if I'm kneading bread with like a jagged scar across my whole finger. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being, um, I don't know, self-centered and insecure at the same time. I don't know. But now I've got the finger cozies, so I don't have to worry about that. And if I'm doing food videos, I could always wear a glove over my hand, right? I'll do the one-handed Michael Jackson thing. I'll wear a glove on one hand. They are cool, aren't they, Heather? Finger cozies. Yeah, where are you in Germany? Here in Germany, we have something very spectacular. Maybe you heard about the stranded humpback whale? No. Oh, Nick heard about it. Stuttgart in the south. Oh, they're having a little conversation. Nick has a friend in Ulm. Is it Ulm or Ulm? You guys. Talk amongst yourselves. Have fun. That's what the chat's for, right? I know, Heather. Scars do show our strengths. But I'm very insecure. Like, you guys don't know what this looks like under here, honestly. Like, my finger was hanging off a thread that really, it was like there was not much holding it together. The scar goes from the back, crisscrossed across my knuckle. Whoops, wrong way. Across my knuckle, then up and then down and then back again. It's horrible. Ulm. Okay. Ulm. This Canadian, I can't even pronounce Ulm, eh? Do any of you guys have Amazon Prime Video? I'm asking because I got a 30-day free trial. I don't pay for that streaming stuff anymore, but I got a 30-day free trial, and I'm going to recommend a movie to you. Hold on. What was it called again, Nick? The Dead of Winter, right? The Dead. There we go. The Dead of Winter. I'm going to share this screen. It was amazing. Just unbelievably amazing. Hold on. I'm just going to get it up for you here because if you guys, like, seriously, this is something that needs to be watched. Okay, hold on. I'm going to share screen with you guys, so it's going to go black just for a moment. Okay. This movie is unbelievable. It's Emma Thompson. I'm not going to give it away or anything like that, but it's a movie. It says wrong place, wrong crime. She shows up where she shouldn't have shown up, and she's very old in this movie. And it's one of those movies where there's not much dialogue. So all the emotion that you're feeling is based on the actors, the way the actor is acting and her facial expressions. And it's set in the winter. It's a really good movie. I'm recommending this if you have Amazon Prime, because I watched this 2 nights ago. Nick watched it too, and we just loved it. It was amazing. I couldn't get enough of this. This was such a great movie. It's only natural to feel that way. It's not selfish. Yeah, I guess so, Heather. But you guys are going to see it at some point. I'm just saying that, but you know. Oh gosh. Yeah, The Dead of Winter, that's the one. Okay, Hannah says the whale is lying in shallow water and can't free himself. Some people don't want to let him die and started a huge savings campaign. Oh, I hope they save him. That's so terrible. Whales are that's awful. Nick said the last update I saw probably over a week ago is that he was free, but they couldn't find him, and then they found him stranded again. Oh no. Okay, I'm going to unshare this here. Hold on. There we go. Heather says we have Prime, but even though we pay for it, we still have to pay to own. Our rent TV shows or movies that are not included, which is quite a few. That is a scam. What the heck? Log on with a different email address and try to get a free 30-day trial. I do that all the time with Amazon, with Prime. You know what happens? If you don't buy from Amazon for a while and then you buy again, they offer you a free trial of Prime, which includes Prime Video. That always happens. It's like a random, not random, it's like a normal thing. It's crazy. Hannah says, yes, stranded again, but not ready to die. It's a young lad who was too adventurous. So what's the plan now? Yeah, tell us what you heard there, Hannah. Poor little baby. Oh, that's too sad for me to hear. It really is too sad for me to hear. You know what? It's going to make us all feel better. Let's watch Nick's Little Ducklings. Okay, hold on. I have to make sure I've got the video ready. Okay, wait. It's got sound on it, so I hope that there's no echo. I'll try not to talk during this. If there's an echo, just mute it. Okay, I'm going to play it. Here we go.
Hello, duckies. Hey! Duck, duck. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Hi. Hi. Quack, quack, quack. The one in the front is the second hatcher. He's still a little weak on the knees, in the knees. Quack, 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 quack. Hey. Oh, are you going for that? Oops. You're a troublemaker already. Hey? Dipping on his head. Hi. Dipping on his head. He's going to fall asleep in the food dish. Hey.
Wasn't that adorable? Yeah, you can definitely speak duck. That was so funny. Quack, 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 quack. Did you guys all see that okay? I hope you're able to see that okay. That's going to make us all feel better. Little spring babies. I love it when you send me stuff like that, Nick. Your farm animals. I love it. And Nick might have some pregnant dogs again. I don't know if you guys remember, was it last year? Yeah, it was before May. So it was last year when you had the puppies, the 10 or 12 puppies. And I was showing them here on Gratitude Hour every week on the update. That was really, really nice. Oh, Hannah says the whale's name is Hope. Oh, well, let's hope that he is saved. I honestly have no idea what's going on outside of my home. I will not look at any kind of news. I know that there's a war going on somewhere, but it's like my brain can't handle any of that. My emotions, I can't handle any of that. So I don't ever look at the news ever. If I see a headline, I see a headline, but normally speaking, I don't seek it out. So, oh, baby goats soon. That's true. You have baby goats coming too. All right. So, you know what, friends? I I would like to do this exercise that we do every week. It's a 2 to 3 minute exercise, and I'm going to put a visual up for you to watch while I speak. And feel free to close your eyes as I guide you through this exercise. Like I said, it's only 2 to 3 minutes. And if you have your eyes closed, I'll ask you to open them at the end of the exercise. Okay. So why don't I put up the visual? Because let's start Gratitude Hour with a little bit of relaxation here. So it's going to be black for a second. We've got a beautiful moon graphic to watch, or you can close your eyes while I speak. But why don't we start with some deep breaths like we always do to promote relaxation and to help our body release stress. So why don't we'll take in a deep inhale. We'll hold it at the top for a few counts, and then we'll exhale longer than we inhaled. Okay? This really helps the parasympathetic side of our brain to just relax. So I'm going to do 3 of these breaths. Really empty your lungs. All right, we're nice and relaxed now. Last week we talked about anger, and I asked you to remember a time when you lost your temper. I asked you to think about how you reacted or how you didn't react and how it made you feel. Maybe you can think about the same situation or perhaps another situation where you lost your temper. Just bring that to mind. Not to upset yourself, just bring it to mind. Now, can you imagine turning that anger into compassion? If someone did you wrong, can you find compassion for that person that might lead to understanding as to why they did you wrong? Because a lot of the times we can't ever understand the why behind when people do us wrong. If you were angry at yourself for doing something or saying something or thinking something, are you able to find empathy for yourself so that you can show yourself some compassion, forgiveness, and release the anger in some way? Let's be present with these ideas just for a few moments. turning our anger into compassion. How can you do that? If your eyes are closed, please go ahead and open them slowly. Shake yourself up a little bit. Come back to the moment. How did that make you feel? If you have anything to share in the chat, please go ahead. We're here to receive it. I'm just going to unshare this screen now. Wasn't that beautiful, that graphic? All of these images that I find in the videos, they're from a website called Pixabay. It's all royalty-free stuff that you can download and use for free. It's always good to give credit to the author of the picture or the video, but you don't have to. You can just mention Pixabay. It's a great site for free stuff. Oh, I feel very relaxed right now. So just continuing from last week. Last week I shared 10 anger management skills with you. The ones that I shared last week are always good to have in your toolbox, you know, in case you ever lose your temper. You know, we talked about the dangers of chronic anger, how it's dangerous to your health. It can be dangerous to other people around you. It can destroy your relationships, and it can destroy your life. Having anger management skills is something that I wish was taught in school. You know, we all lose our tempers sometimes, and having the skills to make wise decisions and not react impulsively, it should be something that we're all taught. We're not born with these skills, and a lot of the times we learn things the hard way. So that's terrible. Oh, Hannah says, you got me with anger again against myself. There's some material for healing here. Yeah, I know what you feel like. The anger towards yourself. That pops up in me a lot. It's unwarranted in my case. I have I have anger against myself that I didn't wake up earlier to find him before he died. I heard the bathroom door creaking open in the middle of the night. I'm going to talk about that in a video that I'm putting out tomorrow. I decided that I'm sharing my story of that day and what happened, what led up to it, how I found him. I'm not going to talk about how he did it or all the whys or anything like that, but the idea came out of wanting to share what it's like to lose a spouse suddenly, because I was not prepared for it. So I'm going to walk through everything from finding him to calling 911 to speaking to the coroner to talking to the funeral home. And then that's coming out tomorrow. And then the next Monday, it's part 2 about what happens when you're named the executor of someone's estate and all of the administrative stuff and the hoops you have to go through. And I haven't finished closing up his estate yet. After I do his taxes, which I have to do before April 30th, that's it. That's the end of his estate. It took nearly a year, and that's quick. But I'm going to talk about that in the next 2 videos. So I do feel anger towards myself sometimes because the coroner did tell me that his time of death was probably around 2 in the morning. So I heard the bathroom door creak in the middle of the night, and I keep telling myself I should have gotten up. I should have gotten up. Of course, I didn't. You know, it wasn't my responsibility to get up and check on him constantly. It was just an after the fact hindsight 2020 thing where I know now he died at that hour approximately. I heard something, and in hindsight, well, I should have gotten up. Well, no, I shouldn't have, because how would I have known, right? So I have to talk myself out of the anger towards myself. So, oh gosh. Okay, Nick says I feel relaxed as well, but the exercise didn't work. There are a few situations that still make me so angry that I don't even want to find compassion for the people who made me angry. Well, you know what, sis? I'm going to share a quote with you in a few minutes. And I'm going to point at you when I share it. Hannah says it's not easy to forgive myself. I know. I know. I understand that very well. Oh, I know I'm not responsible. I know. It's an irrational anger that comes up. It's part of the grief process, right? It's part of all that. And it's also part of my complicated grief where he was abusive. He took his own life. He left a path of destruction, not unlike what Heather was just talking about with regards to her sister leaving a path of destruction. It's hard to deal with that. It's a mind fuck. Excuse my language. But it's a mind fuck. Oh God. You too, Heather, hard to forgive yourself. We all have to work on self-forgiveness because we can't hold on to these things. It's making us sick. Nick says, I didn't lose my temper and maybe I should have. I should have confronted them instead. I kept the anger inside. Well, that's another issue, keeping anger inside. There's a fine line. There's that spectrum, right? Swallowing the anger and keeping it inside here, acting impulsively and aggressively out of rage and reaction. We have to find a middle ground where we can deal with that anger in a positive way, because anger is necessary. But when it's chronic anger, that's when the problem is really, really bad. Oh, have tea. See you, Heather. Thanks for popping by. Thank you so much. Enjoy your tea. Hannah says, Rain, maybe it is good that you didn't get up, even thought about him doing you some harm in the state of mind in that moment. Yeah, I've said this before, one of my friends said, he did you a favor, Rain, by taking his life. Now you're done with him. Because he told me he was never going to leave this house. He was never going to move out. Though he did pretend that he was going to move out because he had planned to take his life many months before. But she's like, yeah, he did you a favor by doing that, because then you didn't have to hire a lawyer. You didn't have to have him removed. You don't have to deal with the post-breakup abuse that would happen. You don't have to fear for your life, because a lot of the times abuse escalates. So, I wasn't meant to find him. I know that. Hugs to you too, Heather. Take care of yourself. Yeah, Hannah, you know what? From time to time, we have to accept that we are not perfect, but we are brilliant. We're flawsome. I like to say that. We're flawsome. Every time you're down on yourself, just say, you know what? I am flawsome. And snap your finger. I am flawsome. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I mentioned last week that I took a course on anger management, and I finished it this week. And there are some more skills that I wanted to share with you. These might be considered kind of more advanced skills compared to the list I gave you last week. But I think it's important that we try to learn how to deal with our angers so that it doesn't get out of control. Like I said, that spectrum, right? It's easy to lose control of your anger, and the consequences can be really devastating to you or other people. I mentioned last week that there was a statistic that I'd heard. This guy on a documentary was this. I think he was a forensic pathologist. He was talking about how the majority of deaths that happened in the United Kingdom at the time of that documentary were caused by people who reacted out of anger. And that's scary, because to not be able to control your anger to that level, to the point where you kill someone. And he said most people regret it. They all go to prison. Most people regret it. It ruins their lives. They've ruined, this person is gone. Their families, everything is, the ripple effect is terrible. Anger is terrible, terrible, terrible. That's why I think it should have been, taught in school. So Anyway, one of the skills that I learned during the grieving process, especially during the anger stage of grief, was how to deal with resentment. That resentment, that pent up anger, you know? It's how to deal with the anger that resulted in something that was done to me by my late husband, for example, that I will never get an apology for. It's really hard and it builds resentment inside. If someone's willing to apologize, if they're willing to talk to you and they're willing to explain themselves and make amends to you, there's hope, right? The chance for forgiveness and releasing pent up anger is really high. But when you're in a situation where someone has wronged you and either they're still alive and they refuse to take responsibility, or like in my case, they're dead and you'll never get an apology and they'll never make it up to you, you need to work through this because it will eat you up. It will totally eat you up. Nick says, yes, I agree with that 100%. It should be taught in school. Mental health in general. Yeah, because I don't know if we're just more aware of it now, but if you think about it, think about when you were a kid. I think we're all about the same age, right? I think it's just me and Nick and Hannah now. We're all about the same age, right? 50s-ish. When you were young, do you remember hearing about all these people with mental health issues and all these anger-related deaths and stalking and narcissistic abuse and emotional abuse? Maybe it was going on, but we just didn't know about it. Or maybe it's gotten worse. As I always kind of say jokingly, I blame the internet. But I do. I blame social media, the internet age, for people just losing touch with being able to communicate and control their emotions. I'm doing this because it's cold on my hand and it's kind of like, you might see me just going like this because it's like an ice pack right now. But yeah, things have gotten kind of out of hand these days. And I think it would be really important for people to be taught these things as they're growing up, you know, maybe not as kids, but definitely, well, teenagers might not receive it well. But you know what I mean? It should be part of the educational curriculum. Hannah says, all things mental health should be subjects in school. They should. Everyone should go through some kind of psychological education. I would say even in grade school, simple things, you know, learning about how to deal with your feelings, because kids and teenagers don't know how to deal with their feelings. Ouch. And they often will, like, you know, take it out on other kids. You know, like I knew somebody once, she told me that one of her daughters used to take it out, used to hit the other kids because she was mad, maybe mad at herself, maybe mad at who knows, right? And that's not a good thing. That creates like a bullying situation too. Oh God, we could go on and on about that. Hannah says the world would be a better place. It would. Or if people apply it, it would, right? Nick says we were told to suck it up, and we did. That's how we created the tough Gen Xers. Yeah, suck it up, Buttercup. That's what Septina likes to say. Suck it up, Buttercup. She's not. She's saying it sarcastically. Like that's what she was taught, and it's true, you know. And especially men. Men, they you don't show your feelings. Men are, you know, strong and silent. You do not show your feelings. Men, a lot of men are brought up that way, and that's a detriment to them. It's horrible. I have to say I'm very glad I was born a woman. I don't know how I would survive in this world as a man. I don't know. I've been having a lot of deep thoughts about men and their behavior and how they were brought up and their emotions and their brains and things like that, and it's super interesting. I mentioned last week that I bought a book called The Male Brain. Well, I bought a book called The Female Brain too by the same author because it compares the two brains and how we are actually wired differently. It's very interesting. So Nick, I'm pointing at you. Are you ready? Tell me you're ready, Nick. I'm going to show you this. This is for you, Nick. Screen's going to go black for a second. All right. This is a quote that I saw recently. And I really wanted to share this with you, not necessarily just you, Nick. You know, I'm just joking with you, but really this is, you know, anger, resentment, and unforgiveness are heavy burdens to carry, and if not dealt with, can sabotage your grief journey. Now, this is all part of what I was going through in my grief journey, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with sabotaging your grief journey. It can sabotage your life. It can sabotage your well-being. It can sabotage your health, your family, even your pets. I've mentioned before that when he was alive, during the times when he would have his rage fests, that I would call them, the pets were agitated. The dogs fought more. Like, could you tell right now that I have 5 dogs and a cat? Listen, no, you can't tell, because this is a home filled with peace and zen and love, no violence, no raging, no anger, just love, compassion, and relaxation. This is what I'm trying to create in my environment now. And my dogs are just, dogs can, cats too, animals can really pick up on what's going on around you. So when we hold on to this anger and resentment and we refuse to forgive, you know, you're the one who's suffering, not that other person. That other person doesn't give two hoots about you. Holding on to resentment and anger towards them, it's not hurting them. They don't care. It's hurting you. And that's what we have to start understanding. That's what we have to put right into our heads. This is not hurting them. It has nothing to do with them. It's only hurting me. So I got to get over this. I've got to find a way to get over this. So, you know, I agree with this a lot because, as I mentioned, I was in the anger stage for a long time during grief. I would say 5 to 6 months. And I wasn't trying to deal with it. I was trying to be more angry. I was finding more ways to be angry at him and more ways to ruminate about the crappy way he used to treat me for many of those years. But when I read that sentence, this quote right in front of us here, those words of wisdom, right? I did realize, shit, it's a heavy burden carrying all of that anger. And I know that many people have different ideas about forgiveness, you know, and different definitions of what forgiveness means to them. So I'll just say that my definition for me, my own definition, is that not allowing what another person did to me that was unfair or wrong to keep me as a hostage of that memory or of that situation. I can't let that happen. Yes, it's normal to feel angry for a while, but if you hold on to it for too long, you're building resentment, and look what happens. You can sabotage your entire life, make yourself sick. Never getting over it, you're not leaving room for good things to come in when you're holding on to bad things. That's another way of putting it. Hannah says the masculine is distorted as well as feminine. They both need healing so badly. Yeah, we all need healing. It's a long healing journey. This life, maybe that's what it's all about, right? What's the meaning of life? Healing, maybe. Nick says, it sabotages my peace of mind for sure. Yeah. Nick, I'd like to help you with that. You know, I know what you're referring to. So we got to let it go. We have to let it go. Have to. Hannah says, listen, sisters, I carried my anger on my ex for 25 years. 25. Well, you know what, Hannah, I'm pretty sure that my anger is going to linger as well. I don't know about 25. It's been 1 year almost. In about a month, it'll have been a year. But he was mistreating me specifically for the last 5 years that we were together. And I know that it's going to pop up. I know that the anger is going to pop up for the rest of my life. You can't help it, you know. As you start to work through your healing journey and be healthy, your unconscious mind starts to let things out and you start to remember things. You know, that's why a lot of the times when we're adults, we remember abuse that happened to us as children. You know, repressed memories is what they call it. I had a lot of repressed memories after burning out and going into therapy. Because at the time when I was a child, my brain wouldn't allow me to remember these things because it was in survival mode and it didn't want me to remember these things. But when I got stronger, when I got a support system, and when I was just at my lowest, my brain decided, okay, now's the time for you to remember these things. And all of these memories came back to me from childhood abuse. And it was overwhelming, but at the same time, it took me a long time to get over it. I would say now it's been 24 years since I had that burnout. Has it been that long? Oh my goodness, 2003. Wow. And going through all that for years after that, I can say 23 years, you 25, 23 years later, I don't have any anger towards my parents anymore or any of my siblings. No anger whatsoever. So maybe it did take me that long as well. That's interesting, Hannah, that you mentioned that. It kind of miraculously was taken off me just like that, snip gone. Yeah, I don't know when it happened with me. It just didn't happen anymore, right? It's like when I felt misplaced guilt about his death. And then after a while, after pondering it and talking about it with myself and talking about it with spirit and going through my exercises and doing my psychology diploma and applying all this stuff to myself, I realized that it was misplaced guilt. It wasn't real guilt that I felt because I didn't do anything wrong. It was just misplaced. And as soon as I realized that, guilt was gone. You have to educate yourself and apply your knowledge to yourself. It's one thing to read about something, but it's actually, you know how people say you have to do the work? Doing the work is applying your knowledge to yourself. Like I could read about, how to give myself a hand massage to help with the swelling. I could read about it all day long. But if I don't apply it to myself, what's the use of reading it, right? We have to apply it to ourselves. We have to do the work. I'm going off on a tangent. Anyway, what do you think of that quote, sis? What do you think of that, Hannah? Yeah, Hannah says these things work beyond our mind. Yeah, it's our soul. It's our environment. Anger, resentment, and unforgiveness are heavy burdens to carry, and if not dealt with, can sabotage your grief journey and your entire life. That was a very powerful quote that I read, really. I'm just closing that slide now. Guys, can I ask you ladies, how is it transmission? I don't know. How is the live stream? Am I buffering like last week, or is everything okay? Is the quality okay? Is my sound okay? Because I want to know if I've got the right setup, and I don't know because I can't check for myself. So if you wouldn't mind giving me some feedback on that, I'd appreciate it. So just talking about this anger and resentment again. Stream is good. Okay, thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate that. So in the case of my late husband, because he was emotionally and verbally abusive towards me quite often, like I said, during the last 5 years that we were together, holding on to that anger did not serve me at all. What it did was to make me more angry, to make me lose sleep, make my stomach hurt, and to pay my anger forward. I froze one time on your side. Okay, sis, thanks for telling me. This is the best I can do with my phone's internet. I got Starlink, and Starlink kept freezing on me last week, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe I need to pump it up to the higher one. I'm on the light Starlink, but I don't know. We'll see. Oh, I'm near. Yeah, I'm closer this time because I'm not in the living room next to the fire. It's actually 17 degrees right now, so I don't need the fire going. I had it on this morning just to warm up the house a little bit, but it's very nice right now. So having said all of that, of course, anger is very important, like I mentioned. I had the right to be angry at him for some of the things that he did and some of the things he said. I had the right, and we all have the right to be angry, always. Um, and it's healthy to be angry because it's a signal to you that something that happened to you was unfair and wrong. But I think a lot of the problems that people have is staying in that stage of anger, of that stage of injustice, and not moving past it. That might be, Nick, that might be something. You might be continuing to feel injustice. And if you realize at one point that you're never going to get justice, that might help you to release the resentment towards those people. Just saying, that might not be the case, but. And it's okay to always remember that something that was done to you wasn't fair. But in my opinion only, if we stay there, we're not doing ourselves justice. So I just wanted to mention that when I talk about forgiveness, that's my idea of forgiveness, is to not hold on to all that because it'll hurt me in the long run. So I'm going to share at this point 10 more steps, maybe more advanced anger management skills, but I'm going to share these with you. So here we go. The screen will go black for a moment. Okay. So anger management skills part 2. These are really good things that I learned from my course. Hannah says, not suppressing anger, not holding on to anger as well. Well, that's the thing, that spectrum. Like I was saying to Nick before, are you burying that anger and swallowing it? Or are you like from 1 to a million in 3 seconds and you're punching people? You know what I mean? Like we have to find a balance in between. And that's really difficult to do. All right. I'm just warning you guys, I'm supposed to get a delivery today. The dogs will let us know if there's a delivery. I was just testing out. I'm going to test out my mute right now. I'm going to talk, but let me know if the mute actually worked right now. I think it did. Okay. So, number 1, don't take things personally. Like I said, this list is a list of more advanced anger management skills that might take a lot more effort and practice to master. I had a very hard time not taking things personally. But you know, not taking things personally is so difficult when someone is personally attacking you. This was something that was really hard for me to do because during my relationship, he would say things that directly insulted me. So the question might be, how do you not take something personally if the insult is directed personally at you? If you can keep in mind that the other person's words or actions are driven by their emotions, their perspectives, and their life experiences, this might help you to recognize that you can depersonalize yourself from what they're saying to you, from what they're doing to you. You can detach yourself, and this actually helps you not to take things personally. It does if you apply it to yourselves. I know, Nick. I know. I know. I know who you're talking about. Of course, you had to take things personally because that was directed at you. Just like, remember, I'm just going to share something here. My husband went from eating like a carnivore regular diet to a vegetarian diet. And then my late husband, I don't want to say my husband, and then to a vegan diet. And when he became vegan, he kind of became a food critic in a way. I had been cooking for us since we met in 2013, and he always loved the food I made. And then all of a sudden he would take a fork and lift it up and look at it like this. And I'd be looking at him filled with rage. Like, I've made this for you how many times? And he was like, well, it's not really cooked enough. And I'm not going to eat this. You don't know how to cook anymore. And I don't like to share bad things like that. because I'm not trying to smear campaign him or anything, but that actually happened. And this was directed at me personally as someone who cooks for him and who had cooked for him for 11 of the 12 years we were together. So how could I not take that personally? It was hard. So I understand what you're saying, sis, because a lot of the times I think that, difficult people are looking for your reaction because they're looking for a fight. At least it was in my case. I don't think it was in your case, Nick. But, we talk a lot on this channel about the brain and the reward system of the brain and how good habits as well as bad habits can release those hormones that cause you to feel reward about your behavior. When someone is antagonistic and always looking for a fight, I can't prove this because I'm not a scientist, but it would make perfect sense to me that they're getting some kind of dopamine release by fighting with you. Antagonistic people always looking for a fight, never happy, always angry. They're getting some kind of reward from it, from their brain. So a lot of the times, if you keep that in mind as well, you can remind yourself that you don't have to take it personally. They're just trying to get a hit of dopamine. And yeah, they direct it personally at you, but it has nothing to do with you. It's just their opinion. Thank you. Thanks for your opinion. I'll take that under consideration. Easier said than done. I know it takes a lot of practice. Number 2, this is interesting. Eliminate hatred. And it all comes down to the words that we choose that can turn into strong emotions. For example, if you tell someone that you love them, you're expressing by words how you feel, and that's a positive force, within you. By telling someone that you love them, they feel that love back, and it intensifies a positive interaction. Now, if you think about the opposite and you say to someone, I hate you, the other person is definitely going to feel that hatred by the vocabulary that you're using. And depending on how emotionally mature that person might or might not be, they may escalate the situation by saying, I hate you too. You will feel that hatred, and then that creates a terrible, intensive, angry situation. If you make a conscious decision to never use the word hate ever again, and actively try to stop yourself when you feel like you're hating, you're creating room for positive understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. This is very true. And you can do it because I'll give an example that I think I've spoken about either on the live stream or in one of my videos. There was a time in 2014 where my husband was talking about something, and I said, oh my God, that's weird. And he flew off the handle. He didn't want me to call him weird. And in my head, I was thinking, I didn't call you weird. I thought the situation was weird, but I just didn't say anything. And I said, I'll never use that word again. And I never did. So if we say, well, I can't take the word hate out of my vocabulary, yes, you can. I took the word weird out of my vocabulary, consciously making an effort not to use the word weird in front of him because it hurt him so bad. And I found out why after, but really, you can do this. It's difficult because we're used to our own vocabulary, but we can change our vocabulary. We just kind of say out of the blue, I hate this, I hate that, but I don't think we're aware of how strong that word is and what emotion is behind it. It's like people who will walk around saying, oh, I'm so depressed, but they don't actually have a diagnosis of depression, It's just a misuse of the word. So I think if we are actively aware when we think we're feeling hatred, and we don't express that through the word hate, we can start to understand where that anger comes from. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me. A lot of the times, the anger comes from feeling injustice, feeling disappointed, feeling fear, feeling sadness. All of this can come out as anger. And in my case, that example that I told you about the food critic thing, it was feeling sadness and hurt that he was insulting my cooking when I hadn't changed any of it. It was just his perception of what he wanted to eat now and how he wanted to eat now. But my anger was based on sadness and probably disappointment as well. And, Nick, maybe in your case, it's based on injustice and fear at the same time. So if you dig deep down and try to work through those feelings, that anger may be able to dissipate a little bit. It makes sense what I said before. I saw your comment pop up before, Nick. Hannah says anger skills in theory are something completely different to real life situations because we are emotionally involved. Yeah, but that's why we need the skills. That's why we need the skills first. Because when it comes down to it, we don't want to act impulsively. We have to have those skills. We have to have that knowledge, It's so important to practice these things. Like eliminate the word hatred. We don't have to be in confrontation with someone to eliminate the word hatred from our lives. Don't take things personally. We can practice doing that with everything. Don't take things personally. Tell ourselves over and over, if someone says something and I think I'm going to take it personally, I'm just going to say to them, okay, thanks for your opinion. I appreciate that. I'll take that under consideration. Drill yourself so that when the time comes, you might be more prepared. You might not be, right? It's a skill. It takes a lot of practice. Yeah, we crave for skills. We do. We need skills. Oh my goodness. So number 3, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so thirsty. Okay. Admit and accept when you're wrong. EGO, ego. Okay, this is a biggie for some people. We have to remember that none of us are perfect. And remember what I said before? We're flawsome, right? It's okay to make mistakes. But if we can actually admit to making a mistake without being defensive about it and making excuses and explaining it to death, we can learn and grow from those errors. It's an opportunity for personal growth, and it makes you self-aware and open-minded. And it really can improve your relationships with other people and with yourself. Imagine you're with somebody who never takes responsibility for their actions. Do you feel close to them? Do you trust them? I would say no, not completely. But if you're with someone who recognizes that they made a mistake and maybe that mistake affected you in some way and they're able to express themselves and admit to making this mistake, how does that make you feel? It makes you feel validated and acknowledged, and you really feel closer to that person. It creates a stronger bond of trust. And a lot of people have this idea that if they admit they're wrong, that it makes them weak. It kills their pride. It kills their ego. It's just the opposite. It's a really good skill to have. I admit when I'm wrong, always, even like in everyday life. If I do something, I'll admit, if no one's around, I'll admit it to spirit that I'm wrong. Oh, I messed up this thing. Gosh, I messed this up. I don't make excuses for it. I messed this up because. No, I messed up. If something happens with the dogs and like the other day, I was so late coming home. And usually the dogs eat around 6, and I got home at 7. And I know it's because I took an extra trip coming back from the hospital. I wanted to do something and I did it. And I didn't think it would take that long, but it did. So I got home really late and it was a mistake. And of course, my dogs forgived me, but I said to each one of them, I went up to them and I said, I'm so sorry. I'm so late. I made a mistake. And I went to each one of them, and maybe it didn't have any effect on them, but they just, it just made me feel better, and it made me practice admitting that I made a mistake. So I just wanted to say that. Nick says that is an interesting thought. Anger is often not actual anger. We just call it anger, not looking at the real feelings that are behind the anger. I wonder why. Is it easier to admit that you're angry rather than admitting that you're scared or sad? Anger makes you look stronger, tougher, less vulnerable, maybe. That's very, very interesting, sis. Hannah, just so you know, Nick and I call each other sis, but we're not real sisters. It's just a habit. I call her sis all the time. Yeah, I think maybe it has a lot to do with our pride and the way we've been brought up. We don't want to admit to people that we're vulnerable. I think it has to do with vulnerability, sis. When you admit that you're scared and sad, you're vulnerable, right? If, for example, after one of his sessions of verbal abuse, I went to him and crying and said, and this happened, and I said, I'm really sad how you just yelled at me, and I'm really scared right now because I don't like how you treated me and it scared me. That made me open and vulnerable. And with somebody like that, it's not a good thing to do because he just made fun of me. So I never did it again. I just held on to anger, an angry front to cover that sadness and that fear. Because anger, like you said, makes you feel stronger. It really does. And anger, and I think I talked about this in one of my videos, or I may be talking about it later. It actually releases some hormones when you're angry. And your brain is rewarded for chronic anger. So that's another thing. It's biological as well. So very interesting. Yeah, Nick is right about that, eh, Hannah? And Hannah says vulnerability is often confused with weakness, which we try to avoid, but it's not. No, vulnerability is a strength. Definitely. So number 4, be open to criticism. I'm laughing when I'm reading these because I'm thinking of my former self. I was not able to do any of these things. Be open to criticism. Okay. This skill is kind of along the lines of the first one, not taking things personally. But not all criticism is intended to harm you. If you can welcome criticism and take a moment to reflect on the intention of the criticism, it can transform your feeling of, getting impulsively angry to a state where maybe you can improve in some way. Again, it's all about self-awareness. Now, of course, if the criticism comes at you in an angry and a vulgar way, it's hard to be open to it. That's just abuse. So I'm talking about criticism. A lot of the times when it comes to you in that way, it's just being said to hurt you. It's the other person who's hurting and they're trying to hurt somebody else to relieve their own pain, that kind of criticism. But I'm talking about, like, think of a work situation. When your boss comes to you and says, you know what, I think you could work a little more efficiently. If you fly off the handle and become self-entitled and get angry and say, but I work very efficiently already. I don't need this job. That's what I'm kind of talking about. If someone says, you could work a little more efficiently, think of the intention behind the criticism or what you perceive as it being a criticism. That's what taking it personally linked to number 1, right? The intention is to tell you that you can do things a little better. So use it as a learning opportunity to ask questions and figure out how you can be more efficient. You're not losing your pride because of that. You're learning something from it. But I think a lot of people can't handle any kind of criticism. A lot of people, that everything is taken personally these days. So Quietly Aligned is here. Hi, Quietly Aligned. Welcome back. Quietly Aligned says, that's so true. Very often anger sits on top of more vulnerable emotions, hurt, shame, fear, grief. Shame is another one. Yep. Anger comes out first because it's safer and more energizing than those softer emotions. That's very well said. Thank you so much. And Hannah says, anger is an energy, or is that rage? Anger is a feeling, or is it it's an emotion based on a feeling. If I feel sad and scared because my late husband just ripped at me, I'm feeling sad and scared. The emotion that results from that is anger. And if I choose to go on this side of the spectrum, where I'm impulsive and reactive, it will turn into rage. And that's a choice. That's how I see it. If I go on this side of the spectrum and I choose to swallow it up and be silent and say nothing, which is what I did for many years. That's a choice as well, or being right in the middle and trying to deal with it in a healthy way. That's another choice. Thank you for bringing that up. That's interesting. Quietly Aligned says, anger sometimes is the primary emotion, but sometimes it is a secondary emotion that's covering something deeper. We don't need to suppress anger, but rather just get curious about what it's carrying. Yeah, that's it. Dive deeper and figure out what the emotion is underneath. It's always based on something. If something gets you angry, you could be feeling something unfair happened to you. You're disappointed. You're feeling scared. You're feeling sad and depressed. You're feeling discombobulated. Like there's something there. There's something there. Energizing is a good word. Yeah, energizing is a good word. I mean, it's safer and more energizing, anger, that is, than those softer emotions. And that's what I was talking about, what I was reading about Quietly Aligned, is that, and I might be mentioning it here, I can't remember if it's here, I'm going to see as I go down my list, or in a future video where I'm talking about how anger actually does release dopamine and the reward system. That's why people become rageaholics and chronic angry people. So, number 5 with a broken finger. At least I have my finger. I'm grateful it wasn't amputated. It's gratitude hour after all. All right, number 5, communicate your feelings in an honest way. This is an anger management skill that I think a lot of people lack. I don't know what the statistics are out there, but I have experienced conversations with many people who just cannot communicate. They can't communicate their feelings in an honest, healthy way. Again, I think this is a skill that should be taught to people growing up because we're not born with this skill. If you can practice being open and honest and calm when you communicate your emotions and all of your emotions, anger, fear, shame, guilt, not just the good emotions, you're helping the other person who you're communicating to understand you. You're making sure proactively that there's no miscommunication in what you want to say. I think a lot of heated arguments happen when there's miscommunication. I read something somewhere that really related to my relationship with my late husband. What was it? Was it the determination to misunderstand? No, the commitment to misunderstand. It felt like every time I tried to communicate my feelings honestly, he was right there committed to misunderstanding them and playing the victim, like I was hurting his feelings all the time. I wanted to mention that because there are certain people that you just can't communicate with. So it's up to you whether you want to continue to communicate with them or not. But if there's a pattern of a commitment to misunderstanding you, I don't see the point in making any effort of trying to communicate with them in an honest way ever again. Honestly, that's just from my experience. And I stopped that. I stopped trying to communicate honestly and openly and in a healthy way. I think the last year that we were together, because there was no point. The commitment to misunderstanding was confounding, and it was really detrimental to my mental health and my emotional state. So I stopped. So those are the first 5. I'm going to share another screen with you, and that's going to be the next 5, plus a bonus skill that you can try to work on. Screen's going to go black for a moment. Okay, so anger management skills, part 2. I went like this. I meant this. Part 2. So number 6, be an active listener. This is another skill that takes practice. When you're having a difficult conversation with somebody and they're trying to communicate something to you that might be unpleasant, The natural reaction is, like I've mentioned in previous points, to take things personally and take things as a criticism. But also, a lot of people aren't really listening to you. They're preparing their response while you're talking. Have you ever done that? I've done it. I can admit to that. If someone is saying something to me and I don't necessarily agree with them, I'm preparing my response as they're talking. I've done that. Sorry, I had to burp, so I muted. I didn't want you guys to hear that. So, you know, if you can practice listening to what they're saying, listening to their words without attaching emotion to it, without judgment, asking questions when you don't quite understand what they mean, it's going to help you to understand them more. And when you're an active listener, people naturally trust you. They naturally feel comfortable opening up to you. And what we want as a connection with another person, with a close relationship, is healthy communication. So, like the last point, communicate your feelings in an honest way. Also, practice active listening so that the person talking to you can communicate their feelings in an honest way without them feeling judged, without you committed to misunderstanding them, without you flying off the handle because you perceive that what they're saying is something that they really don't mean. And again, with many of these skills, it helps you to learn something about yourself. Somebody who loves you dearly and wants to communicate something to you that might be unpleasant or uncomfortable, and they actually go ahead and communicate that to you, that takes a lot of nerve and it takes a lot of strength and vulnerability. And if you don't receive it well, they may not ever come to you again. And that creates distance and mistrust. So, active listening is very, very important for anger management within yourself as well. Okay, Hannah, thank you so much for being here. Have a flawsome day. I'm so happy that you popped by. This is a longer one today. I'm really happy to have seen you, Hannah. Take care of yourself and work on forgiving yourself, my dear. Guten Tag. Guten Nacht. Did I say that right, Nick? Guten Nacht. All right, let's get to number 7. Be okay with not being understood. This one is kind of all about perception. Everyone has their own perception of what they experience in life. I heard a funny story online one time where who told? I think it was Tony Robbins who said it at one of his seminars. He said, okay, there was a family sitting together, and the father said to his son, "Could you go into the cupboard and get the salt shaker?" And the son was like, I don't want to get up. He's like, "Go get the salt shaker." So he went to the kitchen. He pulled out, opened up the cupboard, couldn't find the salt shaker. "It's not here, Dad." And the father was like, "Yes, it is. It's right next to the can of whatever." He's like, "There's nothing here. I don't see it. I don't see it." So the father got up and he pointed right in front and he said, "What is that?" And it was the salt shaker, right? So this is all about perception. And sometimes when we don't want to see something, we're not going to see it. And just like I can give a personal example, for many years, I didn't want to accept that I was being emotionally and verbally abused. So I didn't see it. I refused to allow my perception to believe it. So our perception it's a huge thing. It's just a silly story, but it demonstrates perception, the salt shaker story. And that's happened to me before. The saying, what you're looking for is right in front of you, and you can't see it. That happens to me all of the time. I consider myself a good editor, and I had somebody who asked me one time to edit all of their short stories, and that person was a great editor as well. But I found little things, because I gave it a second perspective, and they never actually saw those little errors on the page at all. So if we're okay with not being understood, it's about our perception. We're already one step ahead of our anger management because we understand that everyone has their own perspective, and we don't need to be angry if someone doesn't agree with our perspective. it's nice when someone understands what you're trying to say. But if it gets to a point where you're frustrated and you're trying to push your point on someone, you have to understand that it's okay that they don't understand you, or they don't want to understand you. You know, like I was at the hospital, I guess it was last week when I met this woman, and she was an energy healer. And she was just asking me what happened. I was still in my full cast, and she asked me what happened, and I told her, and she sort of said, well, I don't know if you're open to this, but if you do a little infinity sign over your wound, you're sending positive energy into your wound. And I looked at her and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I am open to this. And I told her I read tarot cards. I believe in spirit. I'm this and that. We had a great conversation. And she said to me, a lot of the times when I say this to people, their eyes glaze over. So this is all about perception. Her perception is that this energy work really, really helps. Some people will not believe it and they won't see it, So that's about perception. I'm just going to mute for a second because sorry about that. Oh my goodness. My throat's really dry today. Okay, so we're coming to the end of these more advanced anger management skills that I learned in my anger management course in the past week that I want to share with you. Number 8, challenge any irrational thought. This advanced anger management skill really helps me a lot because almost every day, one of the stages of grief is anger. And I often find that I ruminate about not so nice memories that I've had in my relationship, my former relationship, marriage. Something pops into my head and I ruminate about a memory and I actually say out loud, remember that time, fill in the blanks, when you did this, when you did that, when you did this. But if you challenge these thoughts, whether they're rational or irrational, remember that they're just thoughts, right? They're passing mental events. Instead of identifying with them, acknowledge them and let them pass. I do this all the time because I notice that when I get the ruminating starting, the anger starts to brew up inside of me. So I always say, okay, Rain, stop ruminating. You're ruminating. And then I drop what I'm thinking and I focus on something else. And this helps me a lot because to me, if I'm ruminating about a memory that happened to me that I can't do anything about, that's in my past, that I will never get an apology for, in my view, that's irrational for me to focus on it. So by acknowledging that I'm ruminating and telling myself, stop ruminating, Rain, it dissipates that brewing anger inside. So number 9 is identify against the anger. This skill is kind of like a meditation in a way. It's being mindful about seeing yourself, letting go of the anger without effort, visualizing yourself as someone whose values are not to be angry and not to hurt others and not to hurt and not hurt others. Now, rationally speaking, we will all hurt. We will all hurt others and we will all feel angry. But the point of this skill is to let yourself know that you are not the anger. You are just the person witnessing the anger. And you can remove yourself from it and not allow the anger to overcome you or be you. You can make it part of your identity. I'm not someone who will focus on anger. This is part of the identity that you can make. My values are that I'm not going to focus on anger. I'm not going to focus on hurting other people or being hurt. It's going to happen, but I'm not going to focus on it. I'm someone who will not allow anger to overcome me and overwhelm me. So that's something that takes a lot of practice. And number 10, forgiveness. As I mentioned, the concept of forgiveness is defined differently for every person. If I believe in the forgiveness that was taught to me as a child, I would forgive anyone for any act that they did without any kind of justification. I would let people get away with anything they wanted, hurt me as much as they want, and I would forgive them because if I didn't, I would burn in hell. That's what I was taught. you know, but as I mentioned before, also, my definition of forgiveness is to not allow whatever's hurting me to overtake me. And I'm not going to carry that burden of that which hurt me anymore after I've worked through it. It's not okay that a person hurt me, but it's okay for me not to carry that burden anymore. If you're able to forgive, or whatever word you want to use, it helps you to let go of the anger. It helps you to let go of the resentment. And it allows that hurt to pass naturally. It allows you to move past the situation and not stay in the mindset of emotional turmoil. So I have a bonus one for you. And this is what I was referring to when we did the exercise at the beginning of the live stream. Turn your anger into compassion. If you can take your anger and try to channel it into compassion, you can try to focus on understanding and empathizing with the person or the situation that triggers your anger. It helps to redirect your energy into sympathy and maybe offering a little bit of support to that person. It breeds stronger connections with people, and it helps you to turn irrational anger into constructive change within yourself. It helps you to grow. It helps you to be more self-aware. And when you're self-aware, you make better, wiser decisions for yourself and you flourish. It's all about that, you know. I can give you an example of this because it might be a hard concept to understand, you know, to turn anger into compassion. There was a time when I was doing a lot of live streams, and I was doing a live stream with a gentleman who was very good looking. All of the ladies and some of the gents in our community at that time swooned over him. So whenever we would say his name, everyone in the chat would make like little sounds like ooh, and they put hearts. And so I did this live stream with this gentleman one time, and a lot of that, you know, it was called Saturday Night Love. You may remember that. So the topics were always about love. And I remember my late husband was listening in to what I was doing. He often actually listened in without my knowledge. I found out later. Um, anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Um, he came to me the next day after my live stream and he accused me of flirting openly with another man. I tried to pull out of him who he was talking about, but he wouldn't tell me. And I put two and two together and I realized that he meant this gentleman that I was on the live stream with. Now, what my late husband wasn't aware of was that this gentleman was gay and he had been married for 30 years. So I told my late husband that, and he said it didn't matter because it was still flirting. And after that, his rage escalated and he started to verbally abuse me. And he walked away from me at one point, and I got the usual silent treatment. And at that time, without knowing that this was an important anger management skill, instead of allowing myself to fly off the handle at being treated so badly, I decided to find compassion. I thought about my late husband and how he had so many bad relationships with women over the years. All of the times that he opened up to me about how hurt he was, you know, all of the rejections that he suffered. And, you know, we were spending less and less time together. So just as a note, I was spending less time with him because he wasn't treating me very well. But I was trying to find compassion inside of me. So instead of seeing him as a horrible person who should never be speaking to me in that fashion and who should never be treating me that way, I saw him as a wounded man who was so upset that he heard me flirting with another man, even though the man was gay. So I eventually went to see him and I apologized for flirting with this man openly. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's anything wrong with flirting, to be honest, for either partner, as long as there's a foundation of trust. It's okay for me to see a boyfriend or my husband flirting with another woman, as long as I know that he's coming home to me. Do you know what I mean? I think flirting is natural. Taking it beyond flirting is something else, but I'm not going to get into that. So, because I often saw my husband flirting when we were together, it just kind of made me smile. Like I wasn't a jealous person at all. So, getting back to what I said off the tangent, I apologized for flirting with this gentleman and I asked him, "Do you feel threatened by it?" And he said, yeah, I do. And we had a good conversation about it. So that alleviated that growing tension between us at the time. And in finding compassion through my anger of, why were you listening in on me? Why are you accusing me of this? It really cut that anger down, being able to see compassion in the situation. So those are the last of the skills that I wanted to share with you about anger management that I learned from my course. And I really hope that it gave you some insight. I'm just going to unshare this screen right now. Oh, I need a stretch. Oh, there's movement under that blanket. That's my little pointer there. She likes to put her head under the blanket. So, friends, I think it's time to say goodbye for today. I just want to show my Jack, my Marlene, and my Charlie, my 3 dogs who all passed away. I hope that I was able to help you out a little bit, by sharing my knowledge that I learned in my course on anger management that I took last week. Oh, thank you, Nick. Thank you so much. It's what I learned. I took the course, and all of these skills, there's so many. I guess there's 21 that I shared with you today and last week. If we can put these into practice, I think we can have better relationships all around, And if kids can learn these things, that would be something, huh? Lots of good exercises, lots of thinking. Yeah. Yeah. It's time to release the anger, sis, or the resentment, probably based on fear. But I think it's good because when you release all the negative stuff, you're opening up your heart to good stuff coming in. And I know that firsthand. You know how long I was angry. Nothing good came in. But as soon as I was able to release that anger, look at all the good stuff that's happening to me now. Okay, not everything, but there's good in this somehow. I haven't figured out the lesson yet, but there's good in this somehow. Actually, one of my friends sent me something about wasp energy. You okay, honey? I was telling my friends I had to go spray a wasp nest last night. And she got up in the middle of the night and she looked at her phone and something popped up. It was wasp energy, how there's good in that sting. The sting, I forget exactly what it said, but something about that sting is meant to teach you something, or, something like that. And it was just synchronistic that she had seen that after I had told her about the wasp, and it just kind of popped up. And also I was telling her about the sting in my finger. So it was really interesting. But I don't know what my point was in saying that. Yes, there is a lesson in this, and I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe the lesson is just that I have to be more careful. I don't know. But thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that everyone popped in today, and thank you again to those watching on the replay. All of my videos come out on Mondays on a gentle healing journey, one every week. Unless I do shorts during the week, they'll come out randomly, but every Monday. Stay tuned for a video on things that I've learned by studying my psychology diploma and working through my life coaching certification. As I mentioned earlier on, the next 2 videos will be talking about the day that I found my husband after he took his life and the chaos that followed. So those will be the next 2 videos that come out tomorrow, Monday, the 20th of April, and then a week later on Monday. So thanks again, friends, for being here. I'm going to end the live stream now. Please be well, and I'll talk to you soon. Sending you lots of love. Thanks for being here. Bye.